Hey guys, welcome to my YouTube channel. If it's your first time tuning in, hopefully you too will get to be part of this channel, or rather family or community, by liking, subscribing and commenting down below. But if it's not your first time, sure, Boza, you know how we do it here. We like, subscribe and we comment down below. So I have been thinking of actually, shooting this video. But what stopped me was the fact that I had promised to shoot it after I had graduated. But, two events led me, to actually shooting it. Ndasokolisa, mainly because it wants me to tap into, my emotional side, or rather not want me, but rather, me, whenever I share about my academic journey, it results in me being emotional. And so my friends would tell you that I am not an emotional person. Well, I am, and I am a very emotional person, but I just never really, want, to show people my vulnerable side, or rather when I'm vulnerable. Yeah, well. So, as you can see, is obviously but I just cannot sleep, and it's been haunting me to actually speak out, and here I am. So I guess you will grab your coffee, grab your wine, or just grab your water, anything, chips, healthy food, whatever you're comfortable with, because I will be talking and hopefully this video will help you, have a different perspective. It will, help boost your self-esteem, or it will help you in a way that is rather fitting for what you or your journey. Yeah, I just don't even know where to start, but let me start at the very beginning. So this semester I was doing 7 modules, and I actually passed all 7 modules. But the reason why I'm telling you this is because it is the very first time in my university career, because it's been so many years, that I have passed all of my modules. And when I mean all, I mean all. Okay, let me start at the very beginning. So I started at the Nelson Mandela University in 2015. 6 years later, and I'm still there. I think if it was at the beginning of the year, or if it was last year, I really wouldn't have been able to be so open about, the many years that I've been at university, because, I in as much as I never really showed it, in as much as I was this seemingly motivational person, or this person that, kept it going, it did take a toll on my self-confidence, on my self-esteem, just me holistically, as a person and my being. So I started 2015, and things were fine. I failed 2 modules first year, and things were going. But the problem started in 2016, when I just didn't understand what was going on. Now, first and foremost, right, I am very much passionate about arts, music, dramatic arts, the works. But I just always felt that I could never choose a degree in the arts faculty because the education system fails us on a daily. Our families fail us on a daily because they always seem to, the art faculty offers. So I was just like, if I'm going to do anything outside of my passion, it needs to be something that is going, to bring in money. So I, without, finding anything about it, without knowing anything about financial planning, it was a new degree in the block, I was gonna, be able to support myself, be of help in my family. So I decided to choose financial planning. And during that time, first year was basically, general modules, because when you're doing a BCom, first year you basically just do your general modules before actually majoring in second year. So I fell in love with commercial law. I loved commercial law. And, so I started asking myself as to, do I really find this financial planning degree interesting, or am I just doing it? So it just kept on haunting me that I want to do law. I did career tests, online career tests, and they actually pointed me to the law direction. And so second year started, and things were bad. Things were messy. I just didn't want anything to do with academics. So it was like an emotional battle because I knew that deep down I want to graduate, I want to be a university graduate. However, things that I did at the time did not speak to a person who actually wanted to graduate. I just couldn't get myself to understand what was going on. However, when it started with me wanting to change degrees, right? And so that caused a whole lot of commotion between myself and my family, because they just didn't seem to understand. It was at the beginning of the first semester, so I just have 1 year and 6 months left in university. And so I fought and I managed to change my degree. And so in me convincing them, I was like, no, I have already done a certain amount of modules, so I will still graduate in record time, because I'll get credited, and I ndizaba right kule degree ndifuna uyenza kwa BCom. And so my mom agreed, but after trying to talk me out of it, but then she was like, okay, fine, we need to go consult, we need to find out as to what is going on with you. And I think at that time, I had lost myself, but I was still trying, to recollect myself. I was still trying to pull myself towards myself. I was still trying to fully discover as to what is going on with my life. And so I consulted, and I got told that I am called, and that I will, pass at first, and then my marks would decrease, and I would just fail. And I was just like, boy, you are crazy. I am doing none of that. And so, it's so funny, because I had, after that consultation, I had, this fight within me that I was going to graduate, that I was going to finish my degree. And I do not want to lie. First semester, I sorry. Oh, I didn't write the other exams because I decided that I'm changing degrees. So I wrote the 2 modules that I was going to be credited for. And then second semester, I had changed then to like my new degree, but I was only doing like 3 modules, and I passed with flying colors. So I got distinctions and 70s and the works. So the family was happy. They were convinced, okay, that this is the path for you, gal. 2017 came. I think there is no year that was hectic. I mean, in terms of, hey man, I felt like I was being introduced to adulthood. 2017 was just so bad, and I was in such a state that I just couldn't, keep it together. But when people saw me, I think I'm very good at, I don't want to say it, but I'm very good at, okay, everything's going on, but like I'm young torn. And so 2017, the academic year started, and it was bad. And to be quite honest with you, I did not struggle with the content of the work. I don't remember a time where I struggled with the content of the work. I really did not struggle with the content of the work because, to be quite honest with you, I managed to get my DPs before it got worse. And so the content of the work was never really the problem. But every time it was time to study, it's either I couldn't, my concentrations, like guys, I would wake up early in the morning at res, take a shower, clean my room, and the moment I opened my laptop, opened my book, I would read the work. I knew the work, but I just couldn't seem to get myself to concentrate. Well, at that time, because I was like, I was anti, or twasa. And so, or I would sleep. I would get so sleepy to a point where I would sleep. At that time, the dreams had started, being very vivid. And I drank a lot. Like, I would have to write a test on a Monday, but on a Sunday, I was out. And yo, guys, go bad. Academically is bad. And 2017, I think I was passing 2 modules first semester, 2 modules second semester. 2018 came, first semester, and I think I passed like 1 module. And I'm telling you, a semester I was doing like 4 modules or 5 modules, and I passed 1. And I think at that time, my family, their alarm bells were ringing as to what's going on. And so I actually gave in to answering the call. And so second semester, I don't know how many modules I did, but even then I did not pass all my modules. And so I think that worked on me, and that that resulted in me having, rather being so frustrated with myself, feelings of sadness, I just really couldn't understand, because in all other aspects of my life, things were blooming. I was seen as this very vocal person. I was seen as this smart person. And, during conversations, people would be telling me that I love how you think. However, my academics just weren't working, And I think the one thing that actually almost broke me was the fact that, so in 2017 I passed, and then in 2019, at the beginning of the year, I had gone back to campus to basically check how my things were in terms of finances, how things are going. And when I got to campus that day and I checked my emails, I was received by a letter of academic exclusion. On the 10th of January was the closing date for appeals. I saw on the 11th. And so on that day, I rushed to the faculty administrator. I begged. Fortunately, or rather, ndlondlo, the letters were being taken on the second day. Because it was I think it was the 10th. And then I had seen the email on the 11th, if not the 12th. I'm sorry, guys. But then the appeals were taken to, obviously now, to the offices of, I think, DC or whatever. As long as our office were to appeal as goes, all right, on the 13th, if not the 14th. So I begged him, to allow me to appeal. So then he said, okay, fine. So I asked Ikobela Lam to write a letter, basically, telling my side of the story, telling, what had, been the result of me doing, so badly, with regards to my academics. And fortunately, I was allowed back. Now, the funny thing is this. In the December 2018. So now all that's left for me to do is to, ndigoduso. First semester 2019, I still didn't pass all my modules. Second semester 2019, I still, did not pass all my modules. So, it resulted in me asking myself as to what was really going on with me. I never found myself in discussions of academics, because my academic record did not really speak of the possibility of me calling myself an academic. I wanted to actually drop out. Well, in 2017, I dropped out. I forgot to mention that. I dropped out and I was done with school. And so my academic record, as I was saying, did not speak to myself as an academic. And I think this affected me greatly, because for the longest time, I had things going for me. And I think the one thing that I wanted really badly, was not working out for me. And so I I decided to ask people on Twitter, people who also have a calling, those who have, answered their calling, and those who are still called. And so, their responses gave me strength. Some were saying that I ended up dropping out. Some were saying I fought. It took me years to finish. After that, I didn't get a job because I'm pendulanga. Some were saying that no, my academic years, they were smooth. Some were saying that my undergrad, was rough, but my postgrad was smooth. And so I got a bit of both, the good and the bad. And it actually forced me, to sit down, have honest conversations with myself, try figure out as to what is really wanted from me. What is it that I want? What is it that ndlondlo wants, And so I realized that amadlozi awafani. I realized that in other cases, well, in my case, ndlondlo had to come first and academics last. By that, I mean I needed to first acknowledge the educational system that is not favored by many. And I mean, when I say educational system, is because, often people do not take Sangoma as an institution of learning. They don't really respect Sangoma that tell them that I could not go to school because ndlondlo refused. I'm sorry, bengiqhumisa so ngitsaga imbebo. They don't respect good and the bad, and it actually forced me, to sit down, have honest conversations with myself, try figure out as to what is really wanted from me. What is it that I want? What is it that ndlondlo wants, And so I realized that amadlozi awafani. I realized that in other cases, well, in my case, ndlondlo had to come first and academics last. By that, I mean I needed to first acknowledge the educational system that is not favored by many. And I mean, when I say educational system, is because, often people do not take Sangoma as an institution of learning. They don't really respect Sangoma that tell them that I could not go to school because ndlondlo refused. I'm sorry, bengiqhumisa so ngitsaga imbebo. They don't respect people that say I dropped out because ndlondlo belinfuna. Do you understand? However, if I were to say I dropped out, to start my Microsoft business or whatever, because Harvard is an academic system. Harvard is seen as the scholarly wow. So if you can drop out of Harvard, then you're good to go. So I needed to actually, come to the senses of, in order for me to continue with my life, I needed to uktobela ndlozi. I needed to oh guys, I needed to focus more, on the educational system that was not only going to benefit me, but was going to benefit, others. And I think when I reflect about my academic journey, there's just certain things that show that Idlozi was not entirely against me getting a degree, but it just needed me to realize that qala, isidanga soqala, is me answering the call. I look back on my journey and realize that the first 2 years of my academic journey, I had a bursary that paid for everything. 2017 was the only year that my parents paid for my academics. 2017, I didn't pass my modules, but I applied for NSFAS. Funny enough, NSFAS wanted. I know that one day I am to pay back NSFAS, but look at it this way. There are certain requirements that a person needs in order for them to qualify for NSFAS. I did not have those, but yet I still managed to get relief funding. And so until this year, my parents aren't paying anything with regards to my academics, And so when I realized that I had passed all my modules, I knew that finally I was doing something right. I knew that finally, things that were supposed to make sense made sense to them. And I think when I started my journey on campus, so many people, I don't want to say they were not used to the idea, but I think it was the first time, them being exposed to Sangoma, coming to an academic space unapologetically. And I think even though I knew that kushubile, I had to keep going because representation mattered. I wore amabai with pride, and people would look at me, some would side eye me, some would come up to me and ask me about how, where did you get the courage, to actually accept the call, what drove you to accept the call, some would come up straight to my face and tell me that I need to fight the demon that is within me. They would tell me straight to my face that they're willing to pray with me and for me in order for me to be freed, from the hell that ndizifaka kuyo. And so I think, for the first 6 months of 2018, I was the only one on campus wearing amabai. I was losing weight. I had started to look different than how I was. The levels of me being bubbly weren't as high. However, because of the support system that I had, I managed to keep going. And so when I came back 2019 and I started seeing Sangoma on campus, I knew that maybe this is what I was supposed to do, that maybe this is why I needed to go through what I was going through at that time. And so, I made it into the school's diary, and that was a win. And I often say it is not a win for me, but it is a win for those who are to come after me, because now they know that they too can bring themselves as they are in academic spaces, and they don't need anyone to accept them. But if they accept themselves, then they will be able, to bring light about who they are, to bring light about what they are, and to bring light about what it is, or rather what they are is about. And so I think, having struggled in my academic journey resulted in me, wanting to tell you at home that it is okay. It is okay. It might not be immediately, but I think when you are in alignment with amadlozi akho, things are going to work out. And I think for the longest time, we have been okay with izangoma that, that have not that have, I don't want to say allow, because when I say allow, it's going to seem like sometimes one has a choice. But okay, let me just try reword it. I think for the longest time, izangoma have not really been able to, navigate their ways in the academic system. And so I think what I can say to you at this point is that it is very difficult for you to open that textbook. I know. During class, you are not there, you're finding yourself in a world of your own. When you're supposed to study, buyafika ubuthongo and amathongo ayavela. But I think one thing I can say is that we are to do what we're supposed to do in order for us to actually finish the academic journey that we have written on our year plans. And I think it is important for us to actually reach the finish line, because we are then to tell others about our journey, and we are then to ensure that we are an influence in the academic system. I think, it is very troublesome how a person, how it is accepted for a person, to be given a break because they have been identified with depression. However, if I were to say that I need a break, can Diego leave because of idlozi? Many do not understand. One cannot fully articulate, what it is that is the core issue. So it becomes very difficult for you to tabulate it, or to rather present it, which results in academic spaces not fully understanding oba kwentakalani. I think in as much as I asked Ugobela Wam to write an appeal, but they did not really get what I was saying, I needed to get to a point where I had totally drowned in order for me to actually present, what was the core issue. And so I think that is why I am pro sangomas who are academics, because I think it sort of like needs us to actually teach into bangabana. Like I say, into zedlozi are definite. Aren't definite. You know, for me, it could be a different case. I could be getting EDB, and you know, that would be like saying, no, she's fine. For another person, uzabanzima, you know. And so even though I have not yet figured it out, but I really am working on a way to actually, you know, have an academic system that is friendly to us as Sangoma, and that is friendly to us as African people, you know, a system that will understand us for who we are, and a system that will be open, you know, to learning about us and our experiences. So I think, you know, there is a part two coming up, and so I really think that now I'm lighter. Now I know that I'm going to graduate, you know. Things are looking up, and I can only say to you that sometimes we don't understand, but when things start falling in place, we begin to understand. And so I just want to say that ndlondlo zizodwa, you know, you can study for a law of contracts exam and be able to answer the questions that you asked, but when it comes to an issue. And so I think that is why I am pro Sangomas who are academics, because I think it sort of like needs us to actually teach into bangabana. Like I say, ndlondlo are definite. I mean, aren't definite. You know, for me, it could be a different case. I could be getting EDB, and you know, that would be like saying, no, she's fine. For another person, uzabanzima, you know. And so even though I have not yet figured it out, but I really am working on a way to actually, you know, have an academic system that is friendly to us as Sangoma, and that is friendly to us as African people, you know, a system that will understand us for who we are, and a system that will be open, you know, to learning about us and our experiences. So I think, you know, there is a part two coming up, and so I really think that now I'm lighter. Now I know that I'm going to graduate, you know. Things are looking up, and I can only say to you that sometimes we don't understand, but when things start falling in place, we begin to understand. And so I just want to say that ndlondlo zizodwa, you know, you can study for a law of contracts exam and be able to answer the questions that you asked, but when it comes to ndlondlo, no matter how much you learn, things stay changing, you know. Zezabo zenzwa ngabo. All you have to do is listen. Hopefully I have enlightened you, and I trust that from now on you'll be patient with yourself. Thank you so much for watching this video. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, and share on all your social media platforms. Thokozani.